Hi guys, welcome to the video. I hope this is going to be the first video that comes on the channel. The rest will be down below. I have done a lot of recording this week. This video is about where I've been. Last year was the last video I ever did, and a lot has happened to me within those couple of months and this year. It was quite a stressful time for me. So on the very last video I did go the last video you'll see is actually myself in Portugal. It was around my birthday and I just decided to go, and it was a very quiet holiday. I went to the Algarve, I discovered the caves, very kind of not like me at all, but I just felt like I needed to kind of get away and kind of escape things for a while. And when I came back, the apartment I had for 2 years, which you would have seen in all my videos, the rent, we all got a notification because there's only 7 apartments, so we all kind of knew each other. And we were told or notified that the rent was going to increase by a significant amount. So when we did call the letting agencies, they said it's due to inflation and it's due to all these things. So it wasn't just myself that moved out. A couple of us that had various apartments. There was a girl that worked in the body shop that I knew. You know, we kind of would say hello in the mornings going to work. So she moved out, I moved out. And I realised that, you know what, I'm in Oxford. It's not exactly a cheap place to live. And so I decided the best thing for me to do to save is to share. So that's what I'm doing. So you might see the background is different. Things will change in the background. I've got a lot of things coming, making it kind of my own. You would have seen my drive to storage in one of the videos that I'm doing. I've recorded that. So that was it, and it was a huge decision. It was an emotional decision. I was crying only because I kind of had really fit in that apartment and my life had kind of gotten together a little bit. I've been in England now 6 years since I got divorced, so a long time, and I hadn't really found my place, but I'd found my place where I felt like I was home. And I kind of knew over time, this is where I want to be, the area is where I wanted to be, and then after that, so it kind of all kind of snowballed. So after that, my hours got cut in Energy Kids after school, only because it was things like there was a day where it didn't open, so that was a 4-day week from a 5-day week, so just things like that. I used to get a taxi because I've got a provisional license but I don't have my full driving license yet, so I was spending about 10 or 11 pounds a day just to get from one place to the other, which was like maybe a 5-minute drive. So that was all kind of building up, and my support work was my main full-time work. So I had to make a really emotional decision, and a hard decision, to leave the after school after 7 years, because it was actually costing me more to have that job than I was actually getting. And I mean, I stayed there for 7 years for a reason. I loved the kids, I love working with children. They've been my whole career. Support work is quite new to me. 2 years maybe I'm doing it now. So now that is my full-time job, which is a huge change as well. But it was such an emotional day, and my manager had said, please don't tell the parents until we get a new manager, and they ended up not getting a manager. So on my last day, was actually before Christmas, was the Christmas holidays, and they were like, see you in 2024, Kira. And my area manager said, please don't tell them because I don't want them to worry. So I actually left them thinking I'm going to be back in January, and I wasn't. So it was a huge surprise for the kids. It was kind of a shock. So it was all kind of very emotional, and I missed the kids, and I had quite a bond with them too. I'd seen some from reception right up to year 4 or 5. So I mean, it was a really hard decision. But when I kind of looked at my finances and I looked at the reality of it, as I was saying, I spent more to get there than I actually earned. So then I told my support work that I'll be full-time, and that's what I'm doing at the minute. So I've got 2 days off a week, some second weekends off, and the rest I'm working. I really have to think about my future, what I want. I've got some really good people around me. I've got some really good friends. I've got people that mean a lot to me in my life. And it's also obviously made me think of my family back home. And then talking about family, as you know, I've kind of been raised by my mum and my granny, and my dad has been in and out of my life and was in my life for quite a bit of time. And you know, he's kind of made a life for himself in America, and he's newly married. I do have a brother we've got the same dad, different mums, so we were quite close as kids. And so my mum not to kind of go into too much information about her, but she's always kind of, he was the love of her life, really. And she goes through really hard times because I'm not there, and I try and see her as much as I can. And she was just going through a time, and she'd asked him for help, and he helped, and they had a little talk. But over time, she still continued to struggle. And so I would kind of call my dad, or he'd call me, and I'd say, you know, this is happening, that's happening. And there was just something said by him that I think I just had to say, okay, that's me not continuing. You know, people are people, they change over time. They're never going to change. Sometimes, you know, something might change you, where that same experience might not change somebody else. And it was a really, really tough time. We just didn't agree on what was said, and I still don't. And, you know, he has his life. He's always had his life over there. And it just made me realise, you know, people, whether they're family or not, you can be temporary in their life. And it's quite sad, because once I find somebody, whether that's a friend or a partner, or I see family, I'm always there. And that's not there for my dad, for me. And it really hasn't been, because obviously, you know, he left when I was young. So a baby still, basically. So I just had to realize some people change and are there straight away and say, oh my God, and some people just don't, and they move on and they have kids and they get married, and that's, in my case, what happened. And what I will say is that, you know, nobody asks to be born. Obviously, it's just one of those things naturally. So I just want to say that my brother is his own person, separate from my dad. They may be close, but I always want him to know, always, that nothing is ever, you know, his fault. You know, we were both born from the same dad. Life happens, but he's his own person individually. He may be closer to my dad, but he will always be just his own person, and live his own life, you know. So I respect that completely. So that happened, and it's still kind of, I go home and see, you know, my family back there that are kind of on my dad's side, and they're so nice. And I've been to a wedding with my cousin there, and it's kind of communication with them. He has decided, so that's it. I won't go, you know, too much into it. So I think we've all been a little bit kind of touched or affected by his actions. So I mean, it happens. Life is kind of life, but it's made me, you know, maybe step back a bit and just be a bit vulnerable and feel a bit vulnerable. So I didn't feel like, there was days where I really wanted to come on, and I was sent products and things like that, and I just knew it's not the right time. I don't want to kind of send out the wrong signals, because I've been, you know, the reason I stayed with children for so long is because I did come across girls and boys, and some girls more so, who did come from, say, single mum families, and they used to say to me, Kira, like, why did he leave, and things like that. And it's really tough. It's a really, really tough thing. But because I had some experience with that, I was able to kind of sit down and go through it, you know, peacefully, and try and kind of go through the reasons and understand where they're coming from. So that was a hard decision. But I think, you know, now looking at my buying the car loan, and my test is in June, and I'm really hoping to pass. I've passed the theory, so it's just the practical, and so that will give me a lot of freedom, because, as I said in my vlog where I was going to the I think I said it in a couple of minutes into the video, that, you know, once I, you know, because I'm in the middle of nowhere, really, if you don't have a car, you are really, there's a bus maybe every third day, maybe, that goes somewhere. So but I know, you know, at the end of the day, my instincts made the right decision. You know, Oxford now, and probably everywhere, but Oxford in particular, is just rising in costs, rising and rising. So that was something I had to do, and so, you know, the car will make a huge kind of change for me. So then, just going back to support work, that's what I'm doing now, and you know, it is a challenge to be there more, but obviously I will feel the benefit of that over time, because, you know, traveling there isn't as stressful as traveling to a different, you know, to where I was traveling to the kids and Energy Kids. So that happened, and, you know, emotionally I was quite, you know, suddenly being in a house with 4 people was a huge transition too, and it's ongoing, and I think it's for everybody. It's not just for me, you know, it's for everyone. And that's just something that happens when everyone is put into one place and they haven't been. So it's an experience for everyone. But I'm trying to make where I am, kind of in the section of the house I have, my own. So, you know, I'll be getting things. The room will be very different in a couple of weeks' time. You know, little things over time will make a difference. So yeah, so, and I'm going to try, what's made me realize is how much time, because when there's nobody here, it is so quiet. And when you're in a place like this, it is naturally quiet because it is in the middle of nowhere, really. And so you do have a lot of time on your hands. And now that I don't have energy kids, I'm not doing anything in the afternoon. So I'm not doing anything in the afternoon or having a day off support work. I have that full day. So I'm going to start like joining the gym, things like that, before, until I drive and until I get to kind of go places where I want to go independently, basically. So that's really, that did really bring me down about my family. And, my whole life people have said, you look so much like your dad. Apparently when I was younger, Mum used to say, because I hadn't met him yet, because he left when I was quite small, so I'd never really remembered him, but she used to say, when you were 2 or 3, you used to say things like he used to, and you'd never met him, and it was so random, so there was obviously a connection there. And maybe I just can't understand how you can do that to somebody, but people they're individuals, aren't they? So I can't really kind of keep thinking about it, because it will just kind of stop me going further in my future, basically. And then the last couple of weeks the last thing that was quite unexpected is I developed bird flu, which is influenza type A. So I had a cough, and I took in support work we have a blood pressure monitor, so I was on an overnight because I just felt like, whoa, my heart, I can just feel something different, and it was like 140/80. So I said, okay, calm down. The next morning the person came to take over from me in the morning, and my voice was completely gone. I thought, oh my god, I was trying to feed back, voice went completely. And then I went home, and I started to, the temperature was going up, and then it got to about 9:30, and I was in bed, and I felt like somebody was just on my chest, and my breathing, I couldn't call anyone because I tried to talk, and nothing came out. The breath was coming out of me. So luckily I'd forgotten, my phone was charged, but it was on my bed, and I called 111, and my breathing was getting worse and worse, and eventually the lady on 111 said, if you're still there, press 1, or press so I can hear you on the dial. And that's what I did until the ambulance came. The ambulance was 15 minutes. And then when I got into the ambulance, my temperature went to 40.3, I think. And we got to the hospital, and I was put on the oxygen. And then I had an actual, and this is just, when would you ever think this is going to happen? I had a temperature-induced seizure due to a temperature only. And so I was given 3 or 4 IV fluids. So and then I was kind of told it was airborne influenza type A. So I had to call my boss, and then I looked that up obviously afterwards, and it's actually bird flu. So really kind of, so random. How did I get bird flu? I don't really go anywhere normally. All the guys that I work in support work are healthy. Don't know how it happened, but it happened. So I was off for 3 or 4 days because I was contagious, and so that was just I stayed there in the hospital, and that was kind of a really kind of made me think when I got home, do I get back in touch with people that I've kind of, what do I do? It just made me feel, one, really lucky that I had the foresight to call 111, and 2, that it scared the life out of me, that I've never ever been able to not breathe. I don't have asthma, I don't have anything like that. And I literally, by the end of the phone call, the lady on the phone could tell that I can't even. When I started, I was talking to her like very, very kind of low, and then it just got to the point where I had to focus on breathing more than I had to focus on talking. So she had the idea of just press 1 if you're still there, and then she was on the other line calling the ambulance. So, so random, guys, because I don't go out very much, and I'm very aware that I am in support work, so I try not to kind of go too many places that there's lots of people or anything like that. So I'm very surprised I got it, but thankfully now I'm absolutely fine. So this part of the year is just going to be about getting myself more independent, getting myself to a place where, I'm happy, and that I've got a place called home, which I do now, and I'm very appreciative of it, but it's making me, want to make plans. So, yes, that has been where I've been. I've never been so on an emotional journey than I have been. Even when I got divorced, it wasn't this emotional. I think when you stop talking to a parent, and it's there more so on their side, and you kind of because of something that you don't agree with what they've said, and it really is something that you can't just forget. You kind of know in your instincts, this is the best option for me. It still hurts that, you know, you don't have that parent. So, I mean, you know, I have to kind of just go with my instincts and make a life better for myself, basically. But what I will say before I go is this will naturally be still makeup channel, things like that, but it will be vlogs, it will be what I'm doing, I'll be going places, and you'll be coming along for the journey, I guess. So I just want to say thank you very much for the subscribers that I have, new and old. I really do appreciate your time when you look at the videos. Do let me know if you have any questions below, or if you want me to do a Q&A. Somebody asked me that a couple of months ago, but I wasn't actually in a place to do it. So absolutely let me know in the comments below. Have a great day, guys, and thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you very, very soon.